may not be suitable for all audiences.
Yo, a video camera! Let's make a video.
Art 101 with Mr. Burgher.
Scholars, welcome back to Art 101 with me, Mr. Burgher, a professional artist and master educator, attempting to provide you with the very best in our historical content. If you like the content, make sure you like, you share, you subscribe, you do all the things, and I appreciate that.
You must be Miguel. Namaste.
Scholars, I'm walking around a little town here in Ohio, checking out some of the murals, and art is art. It got me thinking a little bit about a different artist, an artist by the name of Jim Dine. Now, his style is completely different than what we see here. But, like I said, art is art. So we're going to go ahead, as you know, because we clicked on the video, and discover a little bit more on the art of Jim Dine. As an artist that works in paint, drawing, printmaking, sculpture, photography, happenings, assemblage, and poetry, creating artworks that fit into many art movements including Neo-Dada, abstract expressionism, pop art, and beyond, Jim Dine would focus on ordinary objects, making them brilliant pieces of artwork. He was born in Cincinnati, Ohio in 1935 and struggled with learning disabilities as a young boy, and his mother passed away when he was only 12, and he was sent off by his father to live with his grandparents. We'll touch on that a little bit more in a moment, but he began his true art study at the Art Academy of Cincinnati when he was only 16 years old, still in high school, and he was at that time very much inspired by the German expressionists and their printmaking, and really began to follow such artists as Ernst Kirchner, Emil Nolde, and Max Beckmann. He would continue his training at the University of Cincinnati, but was very much not satisfied with the art department there, saying that it was a little bit ridiculous, and transferred to Ohio University, where he seemed to find his place under the tutelage of printmaking instructor Donald Roberts. With his training under his belt, he needed to go off and start a career as a professional artist, and so he would go to the art center of the world at that time, New York City, where he would teach at the Rhodes School and founded his Judson Gallery in Greenwich Village with Klaus Oldenburg and Marcus Radcliffe. There they would create their own breed of pop art. They would work in happenings. They would create performance art. But eventually this kind of got old to Jim Dine. He needed to move away from the happenings and the performance and just focus on the painting. He believed he was a painter. He needed to focus on that work.
I mean it, most of you? You really do suck.
Jim Dine's painting focused on everyday objects in art, and this is very much a calling card of what we know as pop art. He was seen as a leader in this art movement, along with others including Robert Dowd, Roy Lichtenstein, Andy Warhol, Robert Rauschenberg, and Jasper Johns, who definitely are a part of that list. But Jim Dine did not see himself as a pop artist. As a matter of fact, he would say, "I am not a pop artist. I'm not a part of the movement because I'm too subjective." What is that subjectivity that he speaks on? Well, his artwork tends to be very much autobiographical.
I was born an artist. So how the flesh was put together, what ears look like, what your nose looks like, your eyes, the expressions can change by manipulating them, by like this. And through the years, that's been one of the prime muses for my self-portraiture. That is, the way the flesh moves down as you age, the fact that my beard turned white, expressions, anger, happiness, things you can read into it. But also the ability, and I wanted to do this all my life. I practiced and practiced and drew to depict what I saw accurately at that moment. Each time it's different. It's always different. But as I've gotten older, I'm more proficient with my hand, and I know what I want, and therefore I get something stronger, and not necessarily more realistic, but more psychologically accurate and formally accurate.
These are personal motifs that tell us something about how he feels on himself, how he feels about the world, how he thinks in general. Let's take a look at some of those most popular Jim Dine motifs.
Whenever you're ready.
All right, gang, it's showtime. Prepare to have your gaskets blown.
In 1964, Jim Dine began his first major art motif with the bathrobe. This is essentially a self-portrait without a face. He would also use, along with the bathrobe, the painter's palette, which indicates his profession. In 1965, he would begin to implement hearts. These would be symbols that he could paint inside and outside. An empty vessel, if you will, that he would fill with paint. This reminded him of a Valentine that he had seen and really loved as a young person, and he was very much drawn to replicating that shape. The connective tissue between art and life is very much ingrained in Jim Dine's work, and we see that illustration best in his motif of Pinocchio. When he was a little 5-year-old boy, the movie Pinocchio was first released by Disney, and this is a movie that had a place in his heart. He loved the idea of art coming to life as he got older and became a professional artist. He saw his art as something that was alive. And in 1964, he stumbled across this papier-mâché Pinocchio puppet thing, and he bought it. And he was very much influenced. It sat on his shelf. He loved it. Always because of that connective tissue between art and life. And in 1997, he injected that theme into his art, being a very successful motif in his artistic catalog. As a little boy, he was also very much influenced by these old sculptures. He was interested in those as a child. He added that into his work as he got older. And the last major motif of Jim Dine that he oftentimes uses is tools. Again, as a youngster, he was very much interested in that, and when he went off to live with Grandma and Grandpa, his grandfather had a hardware store in Cincinnati where he was very much fascinated by the tools, the function and utility of the tools, but also those ideas of tools being able to take raw materials and convert those raw materials into art, and aesthetics of the tools was inspiring to Jim Dine, and that's why he uses them over and over and over again in his work.
I'm trying to buy a tap and die and some WD-40 and get out of this godforsaken store.
Jim Dine might not be the most popular of the pop art artists, but he's very much revolutionary in his approach and thought process. And one of the things that I think that young people could really benefit from taking away from Jim Dine is his thoughtfulness of the past, his history, his youthful influences, and incorporating those ideas into his more mature work. People love nostalgia. People love retrospective sorts of things from our past. Jim Dine is not alone in appreciating Pinocchio or hand tools or any of those motifs, but he was alone in incorporating those symbols into his mature work as a professional artist, regardless of the category that society wants to plug him into. So think for yourself as an artist, what were your interests during your youth that could be incorporated into the art that you're making today?
Scholars, I hope you enjoy that as much as I enjoy bringing it to you. We'll see you next time. You have yourself a good day.
You know, you never know what you're going to learn.
That's why people come back, man.
You got to.